Please subscribe to this video, like it, and please share. We really appreciate, okay? Comment on it, like the video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you. We'll be looking at SAT reading text, all right? So there are a few things you need to quickly understand under the SAT reading test. The first one is the purpose of the SAT reading test is to assess your ability to comprehend a reading passage, okay, or a reading text. So when you are able to understand the passage, it's going to be easier for you to get the answers. But one of the challenge also you have at hand is time management. So you are going to be able to read, understand, and to do it on time. So overall, the essence of the reading test is to assess your ability to comprehend reading passages, to understand them. Do we get that now? Then the second thing is that remember that it's going to be objectives, that is multiple choice questions. So you are simply going to be choosing from the options. And then also pay attention to the instruction. Ensure that you read and understand the instruction. What are you asked to do? Okay, so follow the instruction. And then if the passages are long or you encounter a long passage, then it is important that you skim. You skim that passage. Remember, we already said the reading passage assesses your ability to comprehend, that is to read and understand passages, and most importantly, to do it on time. So you have the issue of the passages are obviously passages you've not seen before. So on the day of your exam is the first day you are seeing that kind of a passage. And you know, people varies. There are some people that need to read a passage 2 to 3 times to understand it. But in this exam, you know that you don't have all the time, you know, to even read everything. So that leads to what is called skim. Okay, skim is just a process of glancing through a document for the purpose of overall understanding. So when you want to skim a document, you skim by reading the first sentence, all right? The first sentence, right? And at times the second sentence. The first sentence in any paragraph is actually called the subject sentence. It is in that first sentence that the author declares his intention for the entire paragraph. Though at times some authors can actually slide it into the second sentence. So that is why it is advisable you read the first and second sentences. Now when you do that, you will understand the author's intention for that paragraph. Now, the last thing you read is obviously the last sentence. The last sentence is called the summary sentence. It summarizes, it wraps up everything the author has said in that paragraph. So when you are skimming, you don't read anything in between. So this is the first sentence, and this is the last sentence. Maybe first and second sentences. So I'm going to read that and read this. Everything in between, I don't need to read it. Because the essence of skimming is just for me to have an understanding. Oh, this passage is talking about the invention of computer. Do you understand? Oh, this passage is talking about evolution. So when you skim a document, you have the overall idea of what that text is about, without the details. Do you understand? So skimming helps you to save time because, like you can see, you don't have to read everything in between. Then be conscious of the context of the text as you read them. That is, try to understand whether it's a question or you are the passage. Try to understand, you know, what you are reading. Try to be conscious of it. There are some people that they actually read out, but not so loud for them to imbibe what they are reading. Do you understand? If you are that kind of person, it's fine. Okay, but make sure your attention is in what you are reading. So this is like a general introduction of the SAT reading test. Okay, Now we're going to look at the question type, because the SAT reading test has some question types that you need to pay attention to, and your ability to understand them very well will help you in the overall reading test. Do we understand? Ask, what is the passage about? All right. Or you may be asked a question like, compare brain function in those who play games on the internet and those who browse on it. Report on the problem-solving skills of individual with varying levels of internet experience. So some of these questions are questions that border on the big purpose, the big picture, or the main point, or what you call the subject of the discourse. The next question type is actually called the little picture or details. The little picture or details. Now, this question type will ask you to refer to specific detailed information in the passage. It's as simple as somebody asking, what is the engine number, or what is the phone number of the, maybe the manager or something that is that detailed, or what is the name of the driver. You understand? Specific information. So under little picture or detailed question type, you are simply going to be asked detailed questions. Now, for you to do well in this kind of question type, you need to pay attention to what is called keyword. All right? A keyword is simply that word in the question that can lead you to the answer. Okay? So it's a unique word or words. So once you take hold of the keywords, then you go to the passage and search for it. Anywhere you find that keyword, stop around it and read around it. You get the answer you are looking for. So when you read a question that have to do with detail, pay attention to keywords. Keywords are unique words. For example, if I say the man on the white shirt, the white shirt is a keyword, because there's going to be several men, but possibly one with a white shirt. All right, so something like that. So I can take white shirt and then scan through the passage for it. Wherever I see it, I'm going to read around. So what happens is, if these are lines and I happen to find the keywords around here, I have to go back and read over it. So I read within that vicinity for the answer. Do you understand that? Now, the third question type is called inference. Yes, this question type, under this question type, you need to be able to interpret information. That means the answers will not be directly written in the passage. But if you interpret, if you look at statement 1 and statement 2, you are going to see the answer. Do we understand that? So the answer will not be written expressly, but once you are able to interpret one or two information, you'll be able to get the answer. Let me give you a good example, all right? So for example, we have this. Joseph was born in 1971. After about 10 years, he relocated to the UK. Now the question is, in what year did Mr. Joseph move to the UK? If you look at the passage, the year that he moved to the UK was not expressly written, all right? But if you interpret the year he was born plus this, you are going to have a new meaning, which is, 1971 plus 10, which is 1981. So that means Mr. Joseph moved to the UK in 1981. But if you look at the passage, 1981 is not expressly written, right? So, but by your interpretation of the years he was born and when he moved, you got this. So that is how it is in inference question, all right? You need to be able to interpret information to get a new meaning. And you need to be able to do that as quickly as possible. And yeah, very well. Now, the fourth question type is called vocabulary question or vocabulary in context, all right? Vocabulary in context. This question type asks you about the meaning of a specific word the meaning of a specific words. All right. Now, why it is called vocabulary in context is that you don't just take the meaning of such a word in isolation. All right. Yes. Don't take the meaning, because every word you see can have maybe 5 to 7 different meanings. Like 5 to 7 different ways you can use it, right? Yes. Now, when they say in context, you need to look at where that word was used and then try to find out which of the options can replace it. Do you get that? And SAP normally doesn't use so much big words. They just use regular words, but they use them in an unusual way. Do you understand? So you need to pay attention to every detail. Now, for example, illustratively, now if you look at these two words, relevant and important, you see the state is not the same. So they cannot replace each other. Assuming this is relevance, then they can replace each other if they are used in a particular context. So you need to pay attention to detailed information such as that when you look at vocabulary in context. All right. The fifth reading question type of the SAT, digital SAT exam, is called function. All right. So function in this case refers to how a phrase was used in a passage. All right. Excuse me. So what happened is a particular phrase will be highlighted and you'll be asked why it was used. What does it refer to? So you may have questions like the analogy in the final sentence of passage 2. Now, passage 2. That means you can have passage 1, passage 2, passage 3, and all of that. In SAT, actually, a passage is what you call paragraph. Do you understand? Yes. So if I have like this, I have like this, I have like this. This is passage 1, this is passage 2. So I'm going to focus on passage 2 because the question is saying the final sentence, obviously the last sentence. So I'm going to take the last full stop, that's the last sentence. Now, the analogy in the final sentence of passage 2 has primarily which effect? Do you understand? So that phrase, what is it doing? Is it explaining something? Is it contradicting something? Is it what information? So you just go back to the passage and read that sentence, that phrase, and find out why the author has to use it. Obviously, analogy means explanation, example, illustration. So if somebody is using the example, why did he use that example or illustration? So this is a function question type. Then the next one is called the author technique. The author technique will, what you need to do is to find out what is the tune, what is the style, what is the purpose, what is the technique of the author. Okay, so in this question type, you may have questions like, during the course of the first paragraph, the author's focus shifts from maybe this to this. Do you understand? Yes. So anytime you hear something like a shift, for example, it means that you need to identify what the author was actually talking about, and then what did he now start talking about, because there's going to be a change, like in this kind of question type, in this kind of question sample question. Do you understand? The question may not always be about shift, but if it happens to be this kind of question, it means that you need to try to identify what was the author talking about initially, and then what did he start talking about after his shift. So you may look out for connecting words. Connecting words, something like but, something like however, like furthermore, because when you see connecting words, it means there's going to be a shift. It indicates a shift. For example, if you see however, it means the person wants to say something that is different from what he or she has the same. Do you understand? If you see something like additionally, furthermore, it means the person wants to expatiate, wants to elaborate on what he or she has been talking about. So connecting words are signposts. They lead you to, the shift and all of that. After the author's technique, the next question type is called evidence support. I like you to remember that in SAT generally, the English aspect is called evidence-based reading and writing. So a lot of things has to do with evidence. Evidence means why am I choosing the answer, all right? Now, but this particular one that is called evidence support, they are going to pair 2 questions. So if you are on question 5, they may ask you, why did you choose the answer you chose in question 4? So what are they doing? Logically, they are connecting question 4 and 5 together. So if you choose the right answer in question 4, it's going to be easier because they are simply asking you, why do you choose the answer you choose? So you just identify it and then you see it. That can also be a guide to you to make sure that whatever you choose, in both answers are correct. So that is why it's called evidence support. All right, it's tied to a previous question. The last question type is called data interpretation. We've talked about types of data, right? There are different kinds of data. You need to be able to interpret data, to arrive at an information. For example, when you see a chart, charts are quite easy because they are visual. You can see a progress, means something is increasing when it's going up. When the bar is coming down, it means it's what? Decreasing or reducing. When it is constant, it means it's steady, it's equilibrium. Do you understand? Yes. So you look at the chart, and then if it is a pie chart, that is like this. If this is A, this is B, this is C. Let me make this C obviously smaller to avoid confusion. And let me make this A obviously bigger. Do you understand? Yes. So if this is a chart, for example, I can look at it that, okay, A is bigger. In most cases, they also put percentage for you. So this is bigger than this is the smallest, this is the biggest.